Hello, and welcome. Today, we will be discussing your noob leader's top Warframes of 2019. So how do I consider a frame noteworthy? First of all, I'm a guy who likes versatility. I like a frame that can be effective in several missions, and modded differently, compared to the usual meta build for one mission frame. I like to form my frames a lot, and discover various ways to make them excel not just in one mission. The second would be the effectiveness of a frame in a mission. If they are not versatile, then they must be very good at doing something. Also, I value a frame's endgame viability. To be specific, I love a frame when he or she can withstand heavy hits from high-level enemies, or it can deal a massive amount of damage. But tankiness and DPS are not the only ones that matter at endgame levels for me. If a frame doesn't have these features, then I look for something called synergies that I can do with it. If you are a follower of this channel, then you know how addicted I am with combining weapons and frames to become weapons of mass destruction. So those are my criteria on how I consider a frame as top tier. And take note, this video is in no way would affect your opinion on what's the best frame that suits your play style. Instead, refer to this video as a guide on how you can fully maximize the potential of a frame, and step out to your usual comfort zone on how you play. So there are actually 15 frames that I like a lot, and let's start with the long endurance master, Octavia. The maestro of destruction, the requiem of death, whatever you call her. There's only one thing that matters: Octavia mass murders every faction in survival missions. She is one of those frames that have insane damage scaling in the game. More specifically, she has her mallet that completely wrecks enemies. It doesn't matter how high the enemy's damage is, for as long as they are dumb enough to pound your mallet, then they will melt from this ability. And if that's not enough, there's her amp ability that can increase both damage and range of her mallet, and there's also her metronome that gives her infinite invisibility, speed buff, multi-shot to guns, and bonus damage to melee weapons. Clearly, Octavia is built to take down the highest level enemies in the game. Next in the line is the big boss killer, CHROMA. Want someone assassinated? Then just give your resident dragon a call. Now CHROMA has received a big nerf in the past, but still, I enjoy playing this dragon. Even though his insane damage boost and reduction, coming from his Vex armor, have been lessened by a lot, I still enjoy playing CHROMA. It's because his Vex armor is still effective in taking out almost all the big bosses in the game, like those Eidolons, Orb Mothers, and even those sortie bosses. But that's not all CHROMA can do now. The most recent rework did make CHROMA viable in party plays. No more lone dragoness from now on. You can share both your elemental ward and Vex armor buff to your team mates. The best part is, multiple CHROMA's Scorn and Fury buff will stack together. So, just imagine 4 CHROMAs in a party. That team will be murderous. Last but not least, CHROMA has one of the best deluxe skin in the game, fashion-wise. He excels from other frames. Fashion frame is also endgame in Warframe, you know. Number 13 would be good old MESA. MESA is an all-time favorite in this game. She got tankiness, crowd control, and more importantly, she is one of the best in terms of DPS in the game. A complete frame that both beginners and veterans would like to play with. The best part about being a MESA main is that you are actually an aimbot, a turret of mass destruction, where you just press 4, point on a location, and watch the enemies die in seconds. Also, I really love the versatility of this frame. He can do assassination missions with ease. She can exterminate efficiently, and can even do defense missions without breaking a sweat. In fact, when it comes to open world missions, like those bounty missions on the plains, MESA can be your go-to girl. She's just one of the best in turning a great offense to the best defense. My top 12 frame would be Wukong, the god monkey, who defies almost every damage that is thrown to him. I don't know if his defiability will be as good after the upcoming rework, but right now, I can honestly say that Wukong is at the top when it comes to survivability. His defy is what makes him worth playing. I mean, who would not be enticed playing a frame that can be invulnerable for a couple of seconds? And with the right mod setup, you can even turn this monkey into an immortal frame. However, his survivability wasn't my best moments. That's given, and you can just put some duration and efficiency mods on it, and you are good to go. What really made this frame fun to play was finding ways to actually make good use of his fourth ability. Some players really don't like Wukong, as they thought that all he can do was defy damage. Well, that's where they are wrong. It was really fun for me to finally discover the right mods and setup for this frame, so not only that he would excel in survivability, but also dish out huge damage numbers while using his fourth ability. I'm not just talking about hundreds of thousands of red crits here, I'm talking about millions. By the way, if you wish to see all the builds I have for these frames, then feel free to check them out on the video description later. For now, let's head to the 11th frame, and that is Hildryn. Shield Mama Hildryn may be new, but she's one of my most played frames right now. The thing about Hildryn is that she is unique amongst other frames, due to the fact that she's the only frame that focuses on her shields to both survive and cast abilities at the same time. It may sound impossible and a total mess at first, but Digital Extremes did actually pull this gimmick off. It's because Hildryn is the first frame to be incorporated with actual shield gating. This means that those damages that usually go through shields will be negated by her overshields, and mind you, she can have overshields almost every time with the help of her kit, not to mention that she becomes invulnerable when her shield's depleted. So obviously, Hildryn's shield gimmick is more than just a gimmick, it is actually one of the best survivability in the game. Just don't use her with Infested, as this faction has no shield and armor. Talking about Hildryn's kit, this frame actually does have some decent abilities that perfectly synergize well with each other. In fact, she's a one-woman wrecking crew against Corpus and Grineers. Her ability to strip armor and shield are really valuable in killing these types of enemies with ease. In addition, she has her own weapon that can be modded for either radiation or corrosive. And mind you, her balefire does deal massive corrosive or radiation damage with the right mod setup. One last thing, although I don't usually use her fourth a lot, as it's kind of situational in my opinion, but still, it's pretty cool to be flying around like Iron Man, and crowd controlling those enemies. Now we are down to 10, and let's start with a banger. Big Boy Atlas, the one-punch man in Warframe. To be honest, I did not bother using Atlas until his rework. He was one of the hardest to farm frame, and there's only one thing that's good about him, and that is his landslide ability. I consider it as boring without even min-maxing the build for my Atlas, but, as I've always said in my videos, you can't say that something is bad or good in this game until you experience using it. When I started punching enemies in the face, I just can't stop. His gameplay may be one-sided, but it's a lot of fun. Not just fun, but his punches are actually powerful that you can even one-shot high-level enemies with the right mods and setup. His rework was the icing on the cake. It made Atlas a lot better, in terms of survivability, and effectiveness in using his abilities. The 9th slot is well deserved by my favorite new queen, Sarin. This frame has the ability to clear a room full of enemies in a couple of seconds. Her spore ability makes it really easy to melt down enemies, with its innate corrosive damage, while her miasma deals with the finishing touches. If enemies survive from her spores, then you can just put them away with the viral damage dealt by your miasma. She's one of the best DPS frames right now, and her ability to be super effective in farming the elite Sanctuary Onslaught is what makes me want to play her more. In fact, my platinum needs are always met because I have my trusty Sarin to farm those Vandal parts in Elite Sanctuary Onslaught. But that's not where Sarin only excels. In fact, she can be brought to long endurance runs. Given the fact that her spore ability doesn't really care about how high the levels of the enemies are, it just gets the work done, for as long as it's spreading across the enemies. Speaking of farming, my top 8 frame is all about efficiency in farming resources and other valuable stuff needed for crafting weapons and frames. Sorry, but it's not Bone Daddy anymore. I love Necros, but right after Cora received her Pilfering Strangledome augment, I jump into the bandwagon and become a Cora main. Just kidding, I still play Necros when I get bored farming with Cora, but, for those who like passive farming resources, then I highly recommend this gal. The good thing about Cora is, when I am bored using her as a farmer frame, I can just shift into a crowd controlling, whip cracking, crazy cat lady. Her ensnare and whip claw are really great and synergizes well with each other. It's glorious to see you grouping enemies, and kill them with one crack of your whip. The best part is, your whip claw does insane damage, and it's actually endgame viable. In fact, it can reach 1,000,000 damage given the fact that you mod your Cora and your melee weapon well. My lucky 7 would be Sand King in arrows. At first, I wasn't really impressed with his high health value. The one that caught my attention was his first ability, which allows him to do finisher damage. In fact, I have showcased a synergy between In Arrows and Jaskitag. That synergy was really glorious, and I have tons of fun playing with it. But, as time passed, there were a couple of things added to the game that changed my perception about how I will play my Inaros. When those Umbral mods came, plus Digital Extremes decided to buff the Physique Aura mod, that's the time I decided to min-max the health values of Inaros. It was really fun but pretty costly as you need Arcane Grace to make it fully functional. Nonetheless, seeing your Inaros outrage in the damage dealt by enemies is kind of rewarding. But, that's not where my addiction to Inaros stops. When I discovered the awesome synergy it had with the Adaza Cavat, that's where I start really having fun with this frame. The combination of Adaza Cavat, high health Inaros, and a heavy blade Zor, is one of my go-to setup right now in long endurance runs. Inaros may not yield some insane damage dealing abilities but, with his insane survivability, plus the ability to deal finisher damage, you just can slap in a bunch of weapons which synergizes well with him, and be effective and efficient in killing higher level enemies. The sixth frame that I really love playing with, is the most versatile frame I have played so far, and that is Ivara. In the past, I was only using her for very long survival runs, and spy missions. Her abilities perfectly fit endurance runs, as not only that she can stay invisible for as long as you have energy, but she also has abilities like being able to put the enemy to sleep, and render them helpless to finisher damage. Also, she's the queen of spy missions for me. Because of her infiltrate augment, she just considers all spy missions in the game a walk in the park. But that's not all Ivara can do. She can also be a good Eidolon hunter. In fact, she's really a good replacement for CHROMA. The damage she can deal with the Eidolons while wielding a Sancti Castanas are pretty amazing. But mind you, Sancti Castanas are not the only ones she can use to kill Eidolons. She can also use other things, like thrown melee weapons to hunt those giants. Long story short, everything that works well with her navigator will be amazing for Eidolon hunt. But, Eidolon hunting is not where it stops. She can also do solo interception missions. In fact, there are some interception maps, like Cine in Neris, wherein you can solo farm relics with Ivara really easy. Truly, Ivara is a versatile frame, and I'm pretty sure that there will be more stuff that I can do with her in the future. Now we are down to my top 5 frames. My fifth most favorite frame right now is Revenant. His Mesma skin works wonders, not just in survivability, but also in opening potential synergies. In fact, I have released a most recent synergy about Revenant being able to withstand the self-damage of napalm grenades. It's really a fun synergy, and I advise you to try it out for yourself. But, the invulnerability of Mesma skin is not the only kit that makes me love Revenant. In fact, I dubbed him as one of the best endgame frames right now, as his abilities do really well at long endurance runs. Aside from invulnerability, he can do this combo wherein you can actually kill high-level enemies that are enthralled, whenever you pass them using your Eve ability. And take note, it doesn't matter how high the enemy level goes. They will die with this Enthrall Eve combo. Honestly, Revenant is one of my go-to guy in endgame levels, especially on those survival arbitration runs. The fourth slot is reserved for my favorite Valkyria. To be honest, this is one of those frames that I have exerted a lot of time and effort, min-maxing its DPS potential. It was really fun trying a bunch of setup, just to make her hysteria last infinitely, and do crazy red crit numbers with her exalted claws. That's the most fun I have with Valkyria, and when I achieved that, it was truly rewarding seeing my Vol Kitty transcending to being a goddess. In fact, Valkyria is one of my best frames right now when it comes to doing solo long survival runs. With her invincibility and high effective health, I can survive the hardest hit that enemies can throw, while dealing massive damage with my red crit claws. Now we are down to the top 3. For this spot, I choose Mag. In my honest opinion, Mag has been a criminally underrated frame for a long time now. Most players think that she got a boring kit, and it's all about magnetizing, which is really wrong. You may find her kit a bit confusing, but honestly, once you understand each ability, I'm pretty sure that you will agree that Mag is one of the most insane Warframe in the game. Now I will be making a detailed guide about Mag, right after my Wisp video, which will probably be out after this one. I will discuss all the things you need to know about Mag in that video, but for now, let me give a brief understanding of her abilities. So basically, her pull is a cheap and effective way to both damage and crowd control. Her polarize is really versatile, and great for murdering a group of Corpus, healing allies and objectives, and pairs well with your fourth ability to strip remaining armor from the enemies, given the fact that you equipped the augment, Fracturing Crush, her magnetize ability. Of course, is the main source of Mag's amazing DPS. And lastly, her crush ability can strip enemy armor, can crowd control a room, and give you and your allies shields for survivability. If you think of it, Mag has a complete kit that a frame needs to be viable at endgame levels. That's the thing about Mag. She sounds and feels confusing at first, but once you understand this frame, you will have tons of dumb fun playing it. The second spot for my best frame will probably go to Ashe, the ultimate ninja in the game. In my honest opinion, Ashe should be the face of Warframe. He is the true ninja and he is really awesome. The true power of Ashe doesn't come from his ability to be invisible but comes from his shuriken, teleport and blade storm ability. Unlike Loki, Ashe is more of an offensive frame. The best part about his offense is his seeking shuriken augment being able to strip enemy armor. In fact, it makes almost every weapon in the game endgame viable, if you pair it with the seeking shuriken augment. Aside from that, you can also have some dumb fun with his fourth ability. In fact, Blade Storm does synergy really well with Arcane Trickery, which enables you to do a perma-invisible combo with Ashe. Why go with another invisible combo, you asked? Well, Arcane Trickery does let you go inside nullifier bubbles. It's more like the Shadow Step from the past Naraman Focus. And lastly, Ashe is one of the deadliest ability in the game. If stripping armor and killing enemies with your clones are not enough, then you can mod your Ashe with Fatal Teleport and one-shot almost all enemies in the game. That's how good Ashe in killing enemies, and truly, he is the epitome of being a ninja in this game. Okay, now we are done to the last frame. This frame is the best frame in my own opinion. The number one spot goes to my favorite. Yes, it goes to my infested boy, Nidus. If you are a follower on this channel, then probably you have a hint that Nidus will be my best frame. I just love high-level plays in Warframe, and Nidus just makes killing high-level enemies so rewarding and fun. On top of that, you literally won't die with Nidus, for as long as you have enough mutation stack, and mind you, stacking mutation points at endgame levels will be just a walk in the park. At endgame levels, you won't worry about dying. Instead, you will be begging enemies to let you die. That's how amazing Nidus' survivability is. In fact, I can honestly say that he is the best among the best tanks in the game. He is literally unkillable. Aside from survivability, his abilities also synergize well with each other. In fact, you only need something like the Pox to complete your Nidus setup for endgame levels. Once enemy armors are gone, they are just helpless against your virulence, and that's not all. Your ability to group enemies with your lava is one of the best utility in the game. In fact, lava does open up a lot of weapon synergy, and that's one key reason why I enjoy playing Nidus. If that's not enough, then there's also his link ability that has damage reduction when you attached it on enemies, while a boost in power strength when you are attached with an ally. And also, there's his fourth ability, which not only heals you, but also can crowd control enemies with those maggots, and can give bonus damage to virulence. Nidus is truly an amazing frame, a well-designed frame that not only has substance over form, but actually has the form, or the looks to make you want to play this frame even more. So that's it, squad. Those were your new Bleeders top frames of 2019. I hope you have enjoyed watching this video, and learned something from each frames that I have featured on this video. To learn more about them, don't hesitate to take a look at the links on the video description below. Those videos will show you a more detailed guide on each frames that were shown here, giving you some tips on how to mod them, and synergies that you can use with each frame. Before you leave, please don't forget to give this video a like, and subscribe if you are new to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. Squad Leader signing off.